Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hi, David, and welcome everyone to episode 235. We've had a long series of podcasts on the 5 secrets, and this is another one. And today is going to be super cool because we have a wonderful man, Brian Wright, who has been working with David online through the email. They've been emailing each other, and he's done a lot of reading of David's work, and he has been implementing the 5 secrets with his wife, and he's going to talk to us about his experience. So
yes,
hi,
and welcome, Brian. And it's a near impossible feat what Brian has accomplished. He's the first human being, in fact, to succeed in learning the 5 secrets of effective communication and implementing it skillfully on your own. So we're very excited to talk to you, and I'm filled with admiration and amazement.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, I thought I'd read an endorsement about the 5 secrets. Someone sent you an endorsement recently about an old podcast 62, which is on 5 secrets of effective communication and psychotherapy homework. And Ed just wrote you simply, definitely 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, thank you. Was that EDG?
Yes.
Yeah, he sent some really cool Ask Davids and some nice comments recently. So we really appreciate you. Ed G, and I think he's a doctor of epidemiology or some such thing. He's a fairly high-powered something or other.
Oh, cool.
Seems like a really nice guy.
Well, they gave you a 5 out of 5 star rating. That was cool.
Yeah, thank you for that. Hey,
so Brian, how did you start working with David and finding out about 5 secrets and team therapy and all that good stuff?
Oh, man, I'm glad you asked, Rhonda. First off, thanks for having me, guys. I mean, this technique has changed my entire life, and we'll get into more of that. But, so I was seeing a therapist in Long Beach, and he, Michael Sherman, and he recommended me read Feeling Good probably back in 2015, 16. I read that book. I loved it. I've been married since 2009, and I love my wife. We have a great marriage, but we're hot and cold. You know what I mean? When it's hot, it's hot, and when it's cold, and it fluctuates throughout the day so much, And so, just always have had difficult communication issues, which, lead to bigger issues. And so I was like, man, I really want to fix this thing. So I was looking for different, marriage books, right? And as a side note, I'm a huge fan as well of Suzanne Jeffries. I don't know if you guys know her from Feeling Good. It's Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Man, it's amazing book. But I was looking for different marriage books. She wrote one, and I liked it, but it was kind of like just a repeat of her first book, right? A little bit. And with David's book, he had Feeling Good Together. And when I went into that book, I was like, I hope this isn't just like feeling good, but then just do the same thing in your marriage. But it totally wasn't. And so when I started reading that book, it was like, I'm a Christian myself, right? And I go, follow Jesus and read the Bible. And the book just totally lined up with kind of what Jesus was talking about, that whole turn the other cheek and take the plank out of your own eye before you try to take a speck out of somebody else's. And it was totally like this, you take all the responsibility. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome, And so I was implementing these techniques for about a month after I read the book, and I was hyped and I was implementing it and having success. But after a while, you take so many shots from your spouse, your significant other, using this technique that I just couldn't keep it up. And so I actually emailed David. Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. And I emailed you, and I was researching you, and things like that. And I saw you were responding to people in the chats, which I thought was really cool, man, for somebody of your stature to reach out to people, which is really, really awesome. And so I was like, let me reach out to him, you know. And so I emailed him. He emailed back. I emailed him back in 2018, and then he never emailed me back. And so at that point, I was just kind of like, I had moved on and, you know, just kind of went back to my old ways of communicating in my marriage. It was just too tough without knowing how to overcome the anger I was feeling. I'm like, how do you do this thing when you're feeling anger? And so I had moved on. And then just this past September 2020, me and my wife just had a really, you know, the turning point argument in your marriage, you know, if you're married or, you know, you have a significant other, it's just like, you have that moment, that argument. We've been together 11 years and it was right before our 11th year anniversary. And it was bad, you guys. Like, it got to the point where, you know, I support my family financially with what I do. And I had cut my wife's credit card off and I was just angry. And it was a bad situation. And we were seeing a therapist at the time. And it was so bad. Like, you know, when that happened that day, I think that same day we had our therapy appointment. We met with our therapist and she was like, I can't meet with you guys. Like, you're not, you know, you guys need your own individual therapy. And so we literally got kicked out of our therapy, of our marriage therapy. And at that point, I had to make a decision. Like, if I was going to stay married, I had to do something different. And I've, you know, like I said, I was a part of a church then, and I believe in God, and I really implement that in my life. And everything I was trying just wasn't, I was having so much success in different areas of my life, like my business, my health and fitness, being a dad, all these things. But my marriage just didn't seem to move forward. And so
let me stop you for just one quick second here, because I'm not sure if did you say you were having trouble in all areas of your life or only in your marriage?
No, just my marriage. Okay, the other areas were the bomb. They were going great, you know. And so And please stop me if I'm going too long. I just tend to just go through.
That's perfect.
Okay. And so, so that happened. And so we had that moment once our therapist, you know, kicked us out. And, you know, we were like, we have to make some decisions. And so I was desperate, you know, because divorce was definitely thrown around, that word, you know what I mean? And that was, you know, scary. And it felt, me and my wife are very loyal. So I don't feel like that was imminent, but it was one of those things where like, it became real after that. And so I was like, okay, I need to do something. And I knew Feeling Good Together and the 5 Secrets, I knew they worked. I just didn't know how to implement them. So I got my own therapist that I'm seeing to this day, right? And then I reached out to David again. I was like, man, David actually reached back out to me. Let me just reach out. Let me just do something because I need to save my marriage. So I reached out to him. I started reading the book and I start incorporating using the 5 Secrets again. And this time I pushed through that kind of 4-week, you know, the anger and stuff. And I can tell you later about what helped me to push through that. But I was able to push through that. And the whole thing that David talks about in the book, which is really cool, when you first start using the 5 Secrets, your spouse or significant other is they're not gonna come back and be like, oh wow, this is great. They're gonna be like, you don't know how to communicate, and you know, da-da-da and da-da-da. You just got to kind of take it all, right? But it's been 5 months. And, man, me and my wife literally are both using the technique at this point. And back in 2018, I really tried to push this book on my wife. You know, if you're married, it just doesn't work. You know, you try to push a book or push a technique, and they're not going to do it. And I tried to push it, and she wasn't having it. She did read it, you know. She says she read it. I was still in my mind like, did you really read it? But to this, you know, once September happened, I started incorporating it the correct way. Man, she just reciprocated, and now we're on this same page, and literally our marriage has changed. And I mean, my mind, guys, is blown. Like, it's blown. And I feel so happy, and I'm so excited to be on a podcast. Things are not perfect in our marriage at all. I mean, by any means. I'm not an expert, anything like that. I just know that it works. It's really changed me. And I've actually used this in other relationships. And dude, it's almost like you play a video game, you have a cheat code. It's almost like using a cheat code. I remember I got into a situation with my little sister, and she'll probably listen to this, but and she kind of like went at me about something. And I was just like, all right, let me just like, disarming technique. Let me like listen to her, repeat back. Let me take responsibility, have empathy, inquire, and do it. It was like, and we're cool now, And so I'm using this not only in my marriage, but with everybody. And it's crazy how this technique, I don't want to say like it controls other people, but there's a thing you talk about, Dave, in your book about how it's a chapter on control, but it does. You really control the relationship by how you respond to different people. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, my thought about that, I love what you're saying, and we should go into more detail on the disarming technique, because it seems like when you picked that up, it really started working. You had some of the other 5 secrets going, like thought and feeling, empathy, and we can explain what these terms mean and demonstrate them. But when you got into the disarming technique, that's when the magic started to happen. But as you say, that's the hardest thing, because we have such an urge to blame other people. We don't want to see the truth in criticism, because that's kind of like the death of the self. But from the Christian point of view, there's the concept of death and rebirth, and you can take that literally, or you can take it figuratively. I mean, we can die and be reborn when we're still alive, and that's what the disarming technique is all about. It's basically a spiritual technique, I would say, although it's secular. It's not tied in with any religion. It works well with any religion, and I think the idea is at probably the core of most religions, but it's so difficult. I love what you're saying. Keep talking, and maybe if you can give us some examples, like what did your little sister say to you? What kind of things was your wife saying to you when she was angry? And then we can practice responding and bring the different techniques to life a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, one of the things that my wife has said in a relationship journal, I actually emailed you, was it's simple, right? But it was it hurt at the time. But I was kind of laying in the bed, and I usually tell the kids to get ready for bed, and then I just let them go, because if I'm hovering over them, I'm just getting frustrated because they're asking questions, right? But my wife likes to be involved, so I told him to go to bed, and then I kind of went in the room and laid down. And then my wife came in, and she was like, come in here and help put the kids down to bed, Brian, in a strong, tone. And I replied, like, I didn't say anything. I ignored her, because I was like, dude, she's like, my wife is tripping. I thought it was better to not say something. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all. I thought that ignoring her was the best thing, which makes no sense. But that's kind of what it was.
And so when you ignored her, what did she say?
So
I'm kind of guessing it escalated.
Yeah, it did. Like her attitude was definitely like she wasn't, happy about that. I think she stormed off and just kind of, put the kids to bed, and that left her feeling upset with me, and then, just goes into, just a full circle,
Yeah.
And just to talk about the EAR thing and steps 3 and 4 of the relationship journal, when she says, come and help me in an angry tone, that gets under your skin, but how is she feeling?
I'm assuming she's feeling very upset,
Right. And then why is she feeling upset?
Because
it's bad weather. Why is she?
Because I'm not helping out with the kids.
Right. And
she's doing it by herself. She feels alone and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. And then when you say nothing, what conclusion does she draw?
She's like, I'm ignoring her. I don't care about her.
Right. So who's forcing her to feel like you don't care about her?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, that's that whole, we create our own interpersonal reality.
Yes.
And one of the things I admired so much about you, most people don't want to see that. Most people want to blame the other person. And when I'm working with depression and anxiety, most of the people who come to me recover in 1-2 hour session, and then we do a tune-up, and that's about it. That's all it takes. Sometimes I'll have a little relapse. I'll give another tune-up, but it doesn't take long. But relationship problems, the success rate that I see and some of my colleagues see is pretty low, because people don't want to look at their own role. That's the death of the self. We don't want to become vulnerable. We want to blame the other person, be angry at them, and feel morally superior. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked me about that, David, because that's really what helped me to get through this. Like, it's difficult, when somebody's coming at you with what you feel is venom, and especially somebody close to you. It feels like you're getting stabbed, over and over. And, in the beginning, the first time I tried to use the 5 secrets, I was able to take a little bit, but it got to a point where I just couldn't take it. And I just started lashing out again. To disarming, right? What really helped me is, this is really, really crazy, right? Like, the first 2 weeks of using it in September was the most difficult, but what helped is really the empathy part. Like, what would happen is my wife would say all this stuff, and I had to say, okay, I don't like how she said this, but let me disarm. Let me repeat back first, and kind of disarm, like, okay, I can see how you see this. Then I started having empathy. I started going down the list of like, okay, yeah, man, I haven't really been a great communicator. When I ignored you, that really wasn't great. And the deeper I went down this rabbit hole of empathy, the anger actually dissipated. It started to break up. And I started to feel like bad for my wife. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And that was the key, the sauce for me, is to delve into that empathy part to where it's going to hurt really bad. And you get to this point where you start to like feel bad for the other person, even though they're coming at you with venom. It's a crazy phenomenon, David. And that started to happen. And I was like, man, this is a trip, and it's actually working,
Yeah. And that is an inherently spiritual thing. That's what we saw in the group. Rhonda led our Tuesday group at Stanford last Tuesday, and we had our most popular group in the past 20 years because people rated at the end. And one of the reasons it was so good is not just Rhonda and the 2 colleagues she had as her assistants were just incredible, but we had a fellow in the group who had been at odds with his brother, and I guess they grew up in Idaho, and then he moved to San Francisco, and his brother got angry at him, and they were really at sword's edge for years, just ragging on each other and fighting all the time.
Right.
And then we use this technique called forced empathy, where it allows you to see the world through the eyes of the person who you're in conflict with. And Rhonda just maneuvered it so beautifully. And when this fellow suddenly saw why his brother was treating him so shabbily, because he felt hurt and unloved. The person in our group suddenly saw how he was causing his brother to feel that way. And all this time he'd been feeling like a victim. And when he saw that, he just started sobbing almost uncontrollably.
Wow.
And it was the most beautiful thing. It's exactly what you're saying right now. It was so freeing for him. And all of a sudden his anger and his bitterness changed, and now he's reached out to his brother. It's a religious message, really. It's beyond psychology, but it's a psychological thing. Tell us more about your experience. You were saying, instead of seeing her as a bitch or a this or a that or whatever, suddenly you're seeing why she's hurting. Rhonda?
Well, I just love the image that you came up with. It's so powerful that she's coming at you with venom and you're feeling like you're being stabbed. Is that what you said? And then you can, that's so powerful.
Yeah, it feels like that. And man, the same thing you said, Dave, is I had that experience. This was maybe 4 or 6 weeks into using the techniques. I remember I was in a bathroom And I do all that. We have a nice bathroom, so I stretch and do yoga, and like I listen to music. It's like my little sanctuary. But I'm in there doing my thing, and man, I almost want to get emotional now. I started thinking about, because I've been using the technique a lot and just listen to her. And when you listen to people, usually they're saying the same 2 or 3 things over and over. It sounds like a million things, but it's really the same 2 or 3. Right. Yeah. And so I was thinking about all these years, like 11 years of not listening to my wife. And it makes me like want to cry right now, like not listening to my wife, throwing this venom at her. And I just started bawling, man. I was bawling. My wife had took the kids out to the park, and I was just crying. And it just really hit my heart, just how I had been responding. And not, I mean, of course, my wife's done stuff to me, you know what I mean? Of course, but I was just thinking about me and how I've responded. And it hit my heart a lot. And I just started bawling. But yeah, it's totally a spirit experience, but it's, you know, I would recommend for anybody, they got to break through though. The beginning is hard to get there. It's difficult, but
Brian, talk a little bit about how hard it was and what was, because you said when you started it in 2018, you kind of gave up and it was too hard. But then when you started it in 2020, right, something pushed you to keep going when it got hard. Right. What was the difference?
I think one, because my marriage was kind of on a line, right? And this was kind of like our therapist dropped this. So I'm like, okay, I need to keep this up. And then secondly, the feeling empathy portion of the 5 Secrets, really going deep into it. Like you got to dig like a mile deep into that. It's like, you just can't like the feeling empathy, but okay, I see how you feel. But you got to really think about, like David said, your part in it. Like, how have my actions really jacked this person up? You know what I mean? And so when I dug deep into that, that's when I was able to really get in touch with what my wife was feeling. You know what I mean? And that was the difference. I dug deeper. Like the first time I dug maybe a couple feet, the second time I dug a mile, you know?
Yeah. I have a couple of questions because I just love what you're saying.
Sure.
I like to think in terms of paradoxes a lot of times, but when you see yourself as fully to blame, you become blameless.
Right.
Does that mean anything?
Oh, really, yeah. No, I'm just kind of,
sounds like elderly babbling.
No, yeah. I'm trying to think of how I related that, but no, that's definitely true. Like the thing I thought about is what's really cool. And I don't know if this relates, and I apologize if it doesn't, David, but what's cool too, is when you start using the secrets, women are really good talkers in general, right? And they can talk very well and express a lot better than men generally. And so when my wife expresses things to me, I kind of feel guilty a lot of the times. And that's where the venom comes back, right? But with using the 5 Secrets, the more I use them, the more you're able, it's like the Matrix, you're able to see things for what they are. So if somebody else is saying something to you, you're like, wow, that person isn't having empathy, or that person isn't really seeing things from my point of view. The way they're communicating is not good. And it's not to throw that back at them, but you can see that and you're able to say, for me, I'm able to not take it as personal because I know that their communication, I don't want to say skill, but I'm going to use the word, their communication skill is not really refined. It's kind of like, it's a bad example, but it's like if you're fighting against somebody that's way weaker than you, then you're kind of like, okay, like I don't really need to, does that make sense what I'm saying? It's kind of a bad example to judge people. I'm not trying to judge, but it feels like you're in this fight and the person isn't really as skilled. So you can be a little bit more gentle and humble with them. I don't know if that makes sense.
But it sounds like to me, like what you're saying is, because you know the 5 Secrets, when someone is yelling at you or upset with you for whatever reason, you're able to look at them and say, I can understand what they're feeling. Like your wife, I can understand that she's feeling alone or she's feeling not supported. Right. And that's the part of, then you're responding to that part of her. You're not responding to the yelling or the right. And because
thank you for putting
because you're responding to her aloneness or her feelings, then her anger goes away, and then the two of you are able to talk on a more feeling level.
Right.
Is that accurate?
That's way better. And if my wife listens to this, she may be upset that I use that example, but that's, yes, thank you, Rhonda.
Now, I have another crazy, demented question for you.
Sure.
Rhonda gives you the practical, clear stuff, and I'm off in the mystical dimension. But I'm thinking about blessed are the poor in heart, for they shall see God.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sermon on the Mount kinds of stuff. Which, well, ignore that. But I was wondering when you were crying, mm-hmm. and seeing your wife suffering,
mm-hmm.
Would you say that those tears are a form of spirituality?
Oh yeah, big time. It felt like it just like I was in touch with it, but it was cool because it wasn't like I was sad at myself, like, oh, I'm a bad person, or my wife said. It was just like recognizing and a respecting of what I've been doing, and just like, man, I don't want to be this person anymore, and it wasn't one of those things where I stopped crying, then I was like perfect. Not at all, but it's just you get more in touch, and it just makes your muscle stronger and stronger.
This is exactly what we saw Tuesday, and the fact that you could do that on your own. I mean, I didn't work with you. I didn't give you much input. I scolded you a little here and there to do more of the disarming technique. But I was just watching you, and then I wouldn't hear from you for a month or two, and then all of a sudden you'd send me a report of what you were doing. It was exciting to watch this process, and I just have such incredible respect for you. Could we practice a little so people can see exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see where my skills are,
Yeah. Well, I have a little exercise that we could start out on, and I'm sure Rhonda will have her ideas too. But I'm going to ask you to play two roles here.
Sure.
First, you're going to be your wife and rip into you the way she used to do.
Okay. Sure.
And then you're going to be yourself and respond with the 5 secrets.
Okay.
And whatever is an effective way. And then we'll all give you a grade, A, B, C, D, and we'll say, here's what worked, here's what didn't work, and here's how it can be improved if it needs improving.
Sure.
And this is an exercise, too, for people who are listening. I mean, I'll try to post the 5 secrets with the show notes, where you could get the book Feeling Good together and read it and do the written exercises. But this is like playing the piano. Mm-hmm. You can't watch someone play the piano and then sit down and expect to be able to do that. It takes tremendous practice, mistakes, commitment, and until you finally get it. So can we give your wife a name or fake name, or we have to refer to her as somebody?
Oh yeah, we can refer to her real name. Her name is Michelle. She's
Michelle.
Awesome. She's
okay.
Beautiful.
Like Michelle Obama.
I love
Michelle, such a beautiful
name.
My
grandmother who passed a few years, she used to call me and my wife Michelle and Barack Obama.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Oh, what a high compliment.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Okay. So you be Michelle.
Okay. Man, this is a little difficult because I don't want to throw my wife under the bus and stuff.
Well, we're going to throw you under the bus. Don't worry.
Oh, you're going to throw me. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to be Michelle and you're going to be me, right?
No, you're going to be you.
Well, I'm going to have you play both
I'm going to be both.
Actually, yeah.
I'm going to play both. Okay, cool. All right. Hey, Brian, when you were recording your video in a room while I was talking with my best friend, you were being extremely rude and selfish. And I think you're very rude and selfish.
That's perfect. Just give me a minute to write it down. Okay, that's an excellent criticism. Now be Brian and respond, and you can just do your best. Five secrets here.
Yeah, sure. I'll do my best. Hey, babe, man, what I hear you saying is that when I was recording a video, you felt like I was being rude and selfish. And I can understand how you can see that because you were talking to your friend. And, there was actually a point I was thinking about, oh, man, this is kind of like not good, but you didn't say anything. So that was my fault for not, listening to my own intuition. So I do apologize for that. I appreciate you telling me how you feel about the situation.
Great. Let me finish writing it down so I can get it in the show notes. Now, what grade did you give yourself on that?
I give myself like I guess a C plus, I would say.
Okay, what grade did you give it, Rhonda?
I would give you
Be honest. Help me out, Rhonda.
Okay, I'm sorry. I would also give you a C. I'm sorry, I'd also give you a C. But I want to tell you what I love about it too. But I want to hear what David said.
You both gave it a C, because I would have given it a B or a B plus. I thought it was really great. I thought there were 2 or 3 specific errors that could, if corrected, could make it world class. But you guys give your feedback first, and then I'll give mine. Then we can try it again.
Okay, Brian, tell us what you loved, what you liked about what you did. What did you do good job on?
Well, first I used the 5 secrets, so that's
right.
a huge.
Right.
I didn't
Definitely.
get crazy, which So, but no, I really tried to listen to repeat back what she said, so I can make sure I understand, thought empathy. Repeating what she said and taking responsibility. The disarming technique, taking responsibility and saying, hey, what you're saying is true. I was being rude and selfish. That's what I liked about it.
That's why I gave it a B plus. I thought that those components were very, very important. Where did you think you fell short?
I didn't use I feel statements, which I'm still learning how to use those. That's still a kind of an area of weakness for me. But I didn't use I feel, and then I didn't use the what is it? Positive encouragement. I forgot the word.
Inquiry.
Stroking.
Yeah, stroking. So I didn't use stroking or I feel statements, and I feel like I could have afforded to do. I tried to use stroking at the end, but I feel like it could have been stronger, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, great. What's your feedback, Rhonda?
Well, I love that you used the 5 secrets, and you're
Thank you. Right.
and you're warm. Your tone of voice, you're really, I feel like you're really present. I'm listening to you, and nobody can see you, but I can see you. And you seems really sincere and
genuine.
Genuine. Yeah. There's no BS involved. I thought you did a fantastic job on the thought empathy. You did a fantastic job on thought empathy. I liked how you said that was my fault. I didn't hear you say it was my fault for I was rude and selfish. I heard you say that was my fault for not listening to my intuition. And
the disarm could have been stronger.
I think that could have been stronger. There's a part of me that liked that, and there's a part of me that felt a little dismissed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love how you.
I love it. Yeah.
But also, you didn't ask her. I didn't. The reason I gave you a C is because I didn't hear stroking or I feel, which I hear that, and for me, I have to admit that that's hard for me too. I feel statements sometimes. I'm kind of, when somebody's upset with me, I don't know how I'm feeling in that moment. And you also didn't ask her to tell you more about what that was like for her. You didn't ask her to, some questions to get out more from her.
Sure. No, I love that, Rhonda. That's exactly what my wife would have said. When she listened to this, she's gonna be like, "Yo, Rhonda," I love it. I need that help.
Is she gonna listen to this podcast?
Yeah, it's definitely.
Cool. Well, hi, Michelle. Thank you.
Hi, Michelle. We should have Michelle on next.
Yeah, she's
and I agree with the feedback of both of you. One thing that I always tell therapists who are in role plays, what's one emotion that no therapist in the United States has ever acknowledged or will ever be able to acknowledge? Do you know what it is, Brian? You're not a therapist, but your guess might be as good as anybody's. I've done over 1,000 role plays like this with therapists, and there's one emotion in terms of feeling empathy that no therapist has ever been able to acknowledge, even when told to do so. There's something they always ignore, which you ignored.
I ignored it?
Yeah. It has to do with feeling empathy, and I'll give you the answer if you want.
I have no idea.
Well, you didn't acknowledge her emotion. She was probably feeling hurt and angry.
Oh.
And anger is one emotion that therapists are almost uneducable. They're so phobic about mentioning it. Isn't that true, Rhonda?
That is so true.
Yeah, and that would have made it stronger. I thought you had a very nice framework to get started on. We just need to touch it up a little bit. But so the feeling empathy could have, and the disarming, as Rhonda says, could have been stronger. So you say, you're right. I was being rude and selfish. And then for an I feel statement, it really hurts me to see what you're saying, because what you're saying is so absolutely true. And not only did I hurt you just now and was disrespectful just now, I was just crying recently when I was alone when you were at the park, because I realized I've been doing this to you for years and blaming you and not looking at what I've been doing to you. And I'm so sad to hear that, because I love you tremendously, and that would be some stroking. I feel so lucky to have you, and so ashamed of how I've been insensitive. And I'm wondering if you could tell me more. I'm finally ready to listen. Tell me more about that, and what that's been like for you, and how hurt you felt, how angry you felt, how frustrated, how alone, how rejected. What you're saying, Michelle, is so important. How's that?
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that, Dave. I appreciate you saying that too, because, like I said, man, I'm not any expert at all. And
you are.
I need so much. I need so much help, and what
we all do.
And you and Rhonda, what we both said, it just helps me so much to clean this thing up. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Okay, we're going to try it again, and you have to be ready to fail as fast as you can. In other words, we might do this 8 times before you get an A, and you might just screw up 8 times in a row. Is that okay?
Okay. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You've got to set your ego at the door when you do this, because it's not only technically difficult, but it's the self that has to die. And that's what I meant. See, I was totally blameless. I took all the blame in my response. And did you see that made me blameless?
Yeah, I see.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And that's the spiritual paradox. And it's a practical paradox, but anyway, I'm probably using too many big words here for our listeners.
No.
Well, hey, Brian, can I be in the role of Michelle now that you gave us for what she said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to be Michelle.
Yep.
Hey, Brian, when you were recording your video and I was in the other room talking on the phone with my best friend, that call is really important to me, and you were being really rude and selfish. Not only were you being rude and selfish, this time that's who you're always rude and selfish.
Man, so yeah, babe, I appreciate you telling me, how you feel. I hear you saying that I am rude and selfish, and when you were on the phone with your best friend, I was just being rude and selfish by being loud and recording my video. And I can definitely absolutely see where you are coming from, and I agree that I have, definitely been, a lot of times when it comes to these things, I can just think about myself first. And so I definitely agree with you. And, I feel sad that my actions have caused you to feel this way. And it really makes me feel like, man, I don't want you to feel that I'm rude and selfish. I love you a lot. I want you to have time with your best friend. I want your time with your best friend to be really great. And I want to hear more about how you feel about this whole situation.
Great. Now, what grade do you give yourself?
I don't even know. I was really kind of thinking a lot. So I mean, C+, same.
Okay, what do you give it, Rhonda?
I'd give it an A-.
Yeah, I thought it was up in the A- range because there was only one piece missing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it was?
Did I not acknowledge her feeling hurt or angry again? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only thing you missed.
Oh.
And it'll actually be impossible for you to do that because no therapist or non-therapist in the United States has ever once been able to acknowledge someone's anger and never will be able to. So I defy you to do it because if you can do it, you'll be the first person in the world. That's a slight exaggeration, but not much of one. But aside from that, I mean, I can see why you did so well on your own because you learn super fast. And not only did you learn technical things really fast just now and modified radically what you'd said, but also the humility is so absolutely necessary to do this technique. And sometimes I get, ticked off too. Usually I do this and then it works like a charm, but every now and then I just want to say, oh, go screw you or something like that.
Right.
You get tired of taking shots. We drift in and out of enlightenment. Well, Rhonda has something really important to say. And
I'm just imagining that all of the listeners of this podcast are going to be thinking, gee, I wish my partner would be talking to me the way Brian's talking to Michelle.
Man, I mean, what I can say is, like, before I start using this, it was bad. Like, so here's what I did before. I was an avoider, you know what I mean? My wife came at me with what I call venom, with what David would call just hurt because of how I was not communicating with her. I would be like, oh, I'm calling a timeout. And I would like never come back to the conversation, or this is too emotional, or you need to calm down, or it just, I would say stuff
that's
like
effective
that.
To sell that to people.
Huh?
Say, you need to calm down. Stop being so neurotic.
Right, exactly. It was ridiculous. So it was, that's what I did. And even to this day, like honestly, let's be honest, right? Like, if you ask my wife, like, hey, how great is Brian as a communicator? I'm not going to get A- or probably even a B, to be honest, right? Because it's different when it's your spouse.
Sure.
But yeah, it was bad. I just walked away. And to this day, I have to really try to listen. Even Rhonda, when you were sharing that with me, I was trying to imagine my wife saying it. And it hurts me a lot, like deeply, when my wife labels me as rude or selfish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, labels are painful.
It's extremely painful. And so I was imagining that. And that's so hard. That's why I have to pause for a minute and then like, okay, let me respond in this way,
Let me ask you a question to go over to the cognitive therapy model from Feeling Good, which is an entirely different way of thinking about it.
Sure.
Why is it upsetting to you if she thinks you're rude and selfish? And I'll give you part of the answer, and then you have to give the rest. And the part of the answer is her thoughts about you will never affect you, only if you buy into them.
Right.
That's your thoughts. So it sounds like when you think of yourself as rude and selfish, that's kind of devastating to you.
Yeah.
And why is that?
I think I was just dealing with something this morning along those same lines of this, but it's it makes, because I think I put a lot of value into what other people, like my value comes from what other people think about me, I think I've put a lot of value in that in my life,
Sure.
Which is really not good, obviously.
Right. And so it's your value comes from what other people think of you, and a lot of us are in that approval addiction trap. And so, if she says that you're rude and selfish, you think that she's judging you, judging you and yourself, and maybe not loving you or not approving of you. Is that right? Is something like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then. If that were true, if she labels you as rude and selfish and isn't approving of you just at that moment, what does that mean to you? Why is that upsetting to you?
I guess that means like, I recognize this rabbit hole, David.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
and I hear your voice in my head sometimes when I'm going through this. But like, I think it means that I'm a bad person. Like, it just means like I'm not good. I'm not good. Oh, and I have an addiction to like being perfect, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
trying to do everything the right way, right? And I want to be, righteous. I want to be right, and I want to be perfect. And so if I'm not doing things the right way, or somebody doesn't see me like that, then that means that I'm a bad person.
Oh, okay. Now let's play another little cognitive therapy game, since you're on a fast learning roll. Yeah. What is your name, Brian?
It's Brian.
And do you know what my name is?
Yes, it's David.
No. Brian. I'm going to be the negative Brian, or the positive Brian.
Okay.
And we'll do something called externalization of voices, and we'll get Rhonda into this too. And the idea behind it would be to reduce that vulnerability to feeling like you're a bad person, or that you're not good enough, or that you're not perfect enough. And so what I want you to do is to be the negative Brian first, and attack me in the second person you, and say things like, well, if you're rude and I think you're rude, and your wife thinks you're rude and selfish, and this means you're a bad person, and this means you're not good, and so forth, and see if you can upset me. And I'll be the positive, self-loving Brian.
Okay, cool. And is it okay? Cool. That sounds good.
So this is a cognitive therapy technique. This isn't like 5 Secrets. This is a little different type of deal.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah.
Is that okay, Rhonda?
Perfect.
Yeah, great. So go ahead. Hit me with one of those thoughts.
I'm
Brian. I'm the self-loving Brian, and you're the self-critical Brian.
Okay, and I'm sorry.
So
David,
Brian, you can say something like, because you can use the negative thought that's in your own head to attack David. You can say, your wife thinks you're rude and selfish, and that means you are a bad person.
Does it have to be from my relationship, or can it be from anything?
No, it can
be from anything. That it wouldn't hurt to make it on the relationship stuff, since that's kind of what we're focused on. But it could be on anything else.
Okay, got you. So I'll use a real one from this morning that was pretty intense. Like, so you're worthless because you're not. Well, let me preface this. I'm sorry. Let me preface. So I dance for a living. I'm actually a professional break dancer, and I have a school where I teach.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Maybe you can send me a video to post with the show notes.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I got you. So, right, I'm going to set this up real quick, and then we'll do it. So I dance for a living. I've been dancing 20 years. I'm a great dancer, right? However, I haven't won like all these competitions. And so, but my business is extremely strong, but I haven't done all this stuff. So a lot of times I beat myself up because I'm not on the same level as somebody else. So
sure.
That's what I'm going to talk
I love that.
So,
that's what the app I'm working on is all about, that too. I'm not good enough, and how to overcome that. And so we'll do a little externalization of voices. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right. So
by the way, you've heard of my breakdancing, I assume.
Ooh.
Have you seen David's breakdancing video?
I know about that
one. I can't even skip anymore.
David, you're funny, man.
Humor helps.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm Brian, the breakdancer, and you're Brian's critical self.
Yes. So man, you suck at dance, and which makes you a worthless individual.
Okay, well that's quite a bit there, big guy. You're saying that I suck at dance, that I'm a worthless individual. Well, let's look at those two things. Actually, it's not true that I suck at dance. I'm damn good at dance. Now, there's other dancers that are probably better than me who have won a lot of competitions, but I'm proud of what I've accomplished in dancing. But I do have another pretty horrible fault that you haven't mentioned.
And what is that?
Listening to your bullshit.
I like that. Man.
Isn't that cool?
That's good.
Yeah. And when you say I'm a worthless individual, I'm not that bright, so I actually don't even know what you're talking about. But when you say I'm a worthless individual, to quote the Buddha and Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, he said, "What the shit are you talking about?"
David, don't use that language.
I'm sorry. I have a lot of flaws, though. I've tons of flaws, if that's what you mean. I'll certainly own up to that.
Sure, but you have goals that you're trying to accomplish, and you're not accomplishing them. So that makes
I'm accomplishing many goals. Well, I don't accomplish all my goals, but I'm accomplishing one of them. That's talking back to your constant abuse and BS, beating up on me like this with your nonsensical criticisms. But what did you say? I can't even remember what you said.
No, I said you have goals that.
Oh, goals, yes, and I've accomplished a lot of my goals. I've accomplished my goal of building a tremendous business. I haven't won all the competitions I'd love to win. I'll always have goals that I've accomplished and goals that I'm still working on or haven't accomplished. I succeed sometimes, I fail sometimes. Is that all you meant?
Yeah, I mean, but it's like the ones that you failed at, those are the most important ones. The ones you succeeded at, they're like they don't make you a better person.
Well, I'm not trying to become a better person. I'm just trying to stop listening to your constant abuse. If you weren't chattering in my ear all the time, I think life would be a pretty joyous experience. I've got a beautiful wife, and I'm learning to love her and to get close to her. I've got a great business. But yes, should I be real ashamed if I fail at something or if I haven't accomplished some of my goals? Gosh, if I didn't have goals that I haven't accomplished, I wouldn't have anything to push myself forward to. I think it's awesome that I have all kinds of goals that I'm working my butt off to accomplish. I'm proud of myself.
What if you never accomplish those things?
Oh, there will always be things I haven't accomplished. That'll never be a problem. I only have one problem.
And that's me, right?
Yeah, listening to you. Now let's try a role reversal. Who won that exchange, would you say?
I would say you did, for sure. I mean, the things that you came with, you were very confident, in how you approached it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's try a role reversal. And,
sure.
And I was using 3 techniques, by the way, because you like techniques. It helps you see what I'm doing. One, I'm using the acceptance paradox. I'm accepting the fact that I have flaws and things I haven't accomplished. I'm also using something called self-defense. And that I'm arguing with you when appropriate and pointing out that I have accomplished tremendous things on many levels with my business, with my wife, with my communication, in many areas of my life. And then I'm also doing something called the CAT, C-A-T. That's the counterattack technique. And I'm pointing out over and over again that the source of my unhappiness is not any goals that I've accomplished or failed to accomplish. It's the fact that I'm constantly beating up on myself with these distorted, unfair self-criticisms.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah.
Now let's see if you can do some of this. You want to be the negative Brian, Rhonda?
Sure. Okay, with you, Brian. I'll attack you, and then you.
Okay.
You be the positive Brian.
Okay, sure.
Now, what's Rhonda's name?
Brian, negative Brian.
Right.
Hey, Brian, sorry to tell you this, but you suck at dance, which makes you basically a worthless individual.
Man, you know what? Like, I'm definitely not the best dancer. I wouldn't say I suck at dance. As far as me being worthless, I mean, that's just, I don't think whether I dance good or not defines my worth.
Mm. Who won that?
I think I did, hopefully.
Did you win large or small?
Maybe a little bit.
You think you just won it small?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think maybe.
You want to do a role reversal and hit me with your negative thought? Because the goal is to hit it to win it huge.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, so now you hit me with the negative, and I'll be the positive. Let me see if I can hit that out of the park huge.
Okay, for sure. Let me think of one. So
no, let's just keep doing this one until we hit this one out. Is that?
Yeah. I'm thinking of a thought like with this. Okay. You will never achieve your goals in dance.
Now, just for a second, Rhonda, let's do some agenda setting with positive reframing.
Let's do that. So, Brian, what is this thought? What are these thoughts about? You feeling worthless, or you suck at dance, you're not the best dancer. Mm-hmm. What is if I had a magic button and I could send the magic button to you through the internet, and if you push this button, those thoughts and whatever challenging feelings that are connected to them would immediately go away without any effort on your part. Would you push the button and get rid of
you'd feel euphoric?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know what? I would actually be reluctant to have you push that button. You know why?
Why?
I think these thoughts and the feelings that accompany them say really awesome, beautiful things about you, things that address your, like things about your core values, or maybe even things that are protective of you. And I'm wondering if we could take a little moment, just, kind of see what these thoughts say about you that are awesome.
That's interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, do you have a piece of paper and a pencil to write a few things down or type them on?
I have a notepad open right here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think the thought "you suck at dance" says about you that's really awesome and beautiful?
I think what you're saying, value, like, I mean, I do know how to dance, like I can dance, you know what I mean? Like, so. But
when you say I suck at dance, what does that criticism show about you and your core values that's positive and awesome? And what are some benefits to you in giving yourself that message?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, guys, what that says is positive.
Well, do you think it shows that you have pretty high standards for yourself?
Yeah.
And is that
you could say that.
Is that an important value to have high standards for yourself?
I do. Yeah.
Put that down. High standards.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And have your high standards helped you?
Yes.
How have they? I'm sure they have. How have they helped you?
I think, I have a high standard in, my morality. I have a high standard in my work ethic, just everything. And so I think it's helped me to, to achieve a lot of things I've wanted to achieve.
Well, put that down as number 2.
Okay.
Motivates me to achieve.
Okay.
And is that real?
Yes. You said, Is it real? Like, this hasn't happened, you mean?
Yeah. Have you achieved a lot?
Is it a make-believe or is it real?
No, it's real.
Is that important?
Yes.
Is that powerful?
Yes.
Cool. What are some other beautiful things about you that when you say I suck at dance and I'll never achieve my goals, what are some other awesome things this shows about you?
That I think that I value setting goals, that I do have goals that I set for myself, Is
that true?
Yes.
Is that important?
Yes.
Add that I set goals and work to achieve them, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's how you got on this podcast, right?
Yeah. I'm
because you told yourself I'm a lousy communicator, and then you set your goal of changing it, and you were doing that.
Right. No, that's true.
So, Brian, you're not the kind of person that goes around and telling people, hey, have you ever met me? I'm the best dancer in the world. I am the greatest dancer. Hey, have you ever seen me dance? I'm the greatest. So you don't go around doing that. What do you think of people who do that?
I think that's definitely arrogance,
Mm-hmm.
So you're not arrogant. What does that make you?
Humble.
Yeah.
Put that down.
Okay.
Is that a spiritual value?
Yeah, definitely being humble is for sure.
Cool. So you've got that on your list. Now I have another thing to add. When you say I suck at dancing and I'll never achieve my goals or some of my goals, does that show that you're realistic and honest with yourself?
When I say that I'll never achieve my goals, does that say that I'm realistic and honest? I would say no, it doesn't.
When you say I'll never achieve all of my goals or I'm not the best dancer, does that show you're being realistic about your shortcomings? You're being honest. Okay, would you add realistic?
Yeah. Okay.
Is that important to be realistic?
Yes, being realistic and honest about myself, yeah.
Uh-huh. It's your turn, Rhonda.
Well, I know you teach, from our previous conversation, you told me that you teach, boys and girls break dancing, other forms of dancing. When you're showing that you have high standards and and that you're humble and you're realistic and honest, are you being a good role model for the young people that are in your lives looking up to you?
Yeah, that's a high value to be.
Is that important to you to be a good role model?
Yeah, big time.
Put that down. A good role model. Okay. I had another one here. I hope it slipped out of my brain. Let's see. Yeah. Would you say that you're accountable, or you're?
Yeah, definitely.
Is Absolutely. That important?
Yes.
Put that down.
And which statement for the accountable part?
Well, when you say I'm not the best dancer, I'll never achieve my goals, you're criticizing yourself rather than blaming the world. You're saying the buck stops here.
Right. Accountable, yeah.
It's and non-blaming, and that's what you achieved when you were crying about your wife. That's a kind of a spiritual piece. So we've got 7 things. Now, if we were doing a real therapy session on feeling insecure or inadequate or inferior or whatever, we'd do it in more detail. We'd probably have a list of 20 things or 30 things that your self-criticisms and feelings of insecurity show about you that's positive and awesome. And so the question here is then, if you press that magic button that Rhonda referred to, and all these self-criticisms suddenly disappear, and you go into a state of euphoria instantly with no effort, then all of these beautiful things about you are going to go down the drain along with your negative thoughts and feelings. And why would you want to do that? Right.
I wrote a sentence here where it says my criticisms reflect my values, and who I am as a person. It's like when I interview people, I always ask them, what's your strength and weakness, right? And then it's like, it's a trick question because it's really the same thing,
Yeah.
And it's like all of my weaknesses, they're really just my strengths, but gone overboard, like too much accountability and trying to be too much of a good role model and too humble,
I love that. I love that.
And so I think that's what's happening with me. It pours over, and it's like, okay, Brian, like chill out a little bit with, with this. So
do you want to see if you can chill out a little in the way you talk back to some of these thoughts? Maybe we can kind of lower the thoughts down a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. So you want to take the attack again, Rhonda? you think we're ready?
Okay, Brian, are you ready to get another attack?
I'm never ready, but let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go back to the original one. Brian, sorry to tell you this, but, you know, you suck at dance, and that makes you a worthless individual.
Yeah. You know what? For my dance, I feel like I have a very high expectation of myself. And sometimes I'm going to meet that in life. And then sometimes I'm not going to meet that in life. To equate that to me being a worthless individual is not fair to myself or anybody else in my life.
And Brian, who won that? The negative thought, the thought that was attacking you, or the response? And could you take your hand away from your mouth?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, for sure. That's cool. I think I felt more confident with that one. You know, I definitely feel more confident. You know, like more like a resolve. You know.
Yeah. So, do you think you won that big or small?
I feel like I won it bigger than before.
Yes, I thought so too. What about huge? Did you feel like you won it huge?
I don't know. You know, maybe I feel like I won it solid. Like it was a solid win.
Okay.
I feel like I have a ways to go with practice to win it huge, but I feel like it was very solid.
Well, do you want to keep going until we can get it to huge? Or is solid?
Yeah,
or maybe it's good enough right now.
Or is solid good enough right now?
Yeah, I think, you know, I feel we can do one. Let's do one more. Because I like this. It's definitely getting better. If we have the time for it, we can do one more.
Oh, we do. Yeah. I mean, this is great stuff. It's fun for us, rewarding.
Yeah.
And we're pushing you to learn advanced calculus here on the fly.
I love it, guys. I love it.
Okay.
I absolutely love it.
So do you want to hit me with that and see if I can? Let's do a role reversal.
Why don't I hit you with it, Rhonda, and let Brian watch us? That's another
okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be great.
Sure.
Could I talk to you for a minute, Brian?
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't want to upset you here, in front of a large podcast audience, but you know it's a fact of the universe, and I'm not exaggerating to say that you suck at breakdancing, which you're trying to teach kids. So you're kind of a fraud as well as a failure, and this makes you a worthless human being. Other than that, you're okay.
Ouch, Brian, that really hurts. That's harsh. I know I have really high expectations for myself. Sometimes I meet them, sometimes I don't meet them. But what I do know, I have a huge impact on a lot of kids' lives. I'm super proud of that. And I've been a dancer for 20 years. I'm a great dancer, and I am a really great teacher. What I'm not really good at is turning off that voice in my head that keeps attacking me. I'm getting better at that. But what I'm going to say for you right now is, just leave me alone with your negative thoughts. With your negative thoughts about me, they're not valid, and I'm tired of listening to them.
Great. Who won, Rhonda?
I won.
Big or small?
I think that was large, but not huge.
What did you think, Brian?
No, I definitely think she won for sure. I really like what she said is like, and you were saying too earlier, David, about not turning. Like what I'm not good at is not turning that voice off. That's really, that was powerful.
Hey, let's hit David with it and hear what he has to say.
I'll just quote Jesus in his Sermon on the Mount.
Okay, but don't swear. Jesus didn't swear. Brian, you want to hit David?
Yeah. I wanted to say too, David, what you said about being fraudulent and all that stuff, I think you put it in perfect terms, So I love that example. That was really good because that was like really deep. I think the deepest places.
Oh yeah. I didn't comment on that.
Yeah. And then Rhonda, how you responded, I really like that. So, I'll go ahead and hit you, David. So yeah, Brian, you're a great guy, man, overall.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't thank me too soon, man, because your dancing is just, you're a fraud. You shouldn't be teaching. and there's other people that deserve to be doing what you do. Like, it shouldn't
Well,
be.
you know, there's so much truth in what you're saying, big guy, and that's absolutely right. There are a lot of people who can dance a lot better than I can, probably beat me in a competition. But I'm proud of what I've learned, both about dancing and what I've achieved and what I've learned about teaching. And, you know, I've really touched the hearts of a lot of kids. And they don't seem to care so much about, you know, how good I am on a 0 to 1,000 rating or Olympic stature or whatever. They seem to care about the fact that I care about them and that I'm making changes in their life. And I'm pretty proud of myself for what I've done, and I'm proud of myself for the way I've grown with my wife too. And I made a lot of mistakes today. I'll always make a lot of mistakes. I'll always fall short. That's a part of life. But I also have a tremendous amount to be proud of. And I'd say my greatest shortcoming is just listening to your constant criticisms, but it keeps me from getting lonely. You're always there chattering on my shoulder, pointing out my shortcomings and where I need to learn and grow. And if you want to do that, you can just go ahead and do that. But I just want, you know, I've kind of decided to start loving myself as much as I love my wife. And unfortunately, that doesn't leave an awful lot of room for your constant put downs.
Yeah, I love that, Dave. I just had a thought, something you and Rhonda did. It was beautiful. It's almost like you use the 5 secrets on yourself.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Right.
Yeah, you use it on yourself, and it's almost like you take it in and you just give yourself a hug. And I love that you started with like disarming and agreeing and saying, hey, like, I acknowledge, because that's actually something I'm learning in my own personal therapy now, is just to like acknowledge what I'm acknowledge that voice first, that person that's talking to you. Like, okay, you are there, and hey, what you're saying is there's some validity to it. But at the same time, right? Just having empathy.
See, that's huge what you said now, and then we've got to kind of break this off. But
sure,
you just made a really important philosophical point. The world of 5 secrets and relationships and the world of cognitive therapy are the opposite of each other. Like in cognitive therapy, you point out all the distortions in your thoughts, like all or nothing thinking and overgeneralization. But if you say that to someone else, you'll just get a fight on your hands.
Right. Exactly.
And so it's like matter and antimatter, but the bridge between individual, like cognitive therapy, like what we were doing just now, and the interpersonal therapy with the 5 secrets, the bridge is what you just said. The acceptance paradox and the disarming technique are the same thing. That's the connection between these two apparently opposite worlds.
Right.
And when you're the acceptance paradox is using the disarming technique on yourself. Say to me, you know, David, you're really kind of worthless.
David, you're really worthless.
I know. There's nothing about me that can't be improved. I have so many faults. It would take us a long time to count them all. Everything about me is a little bit off. But you know what? You know what's great about it?
What is that?
My students don't care. My cat doesn't care. My wife doesn't care. We have a new kitty, and if I just pet her and pet her stomach, she just purrs like crazy, and my students purr too. I just show them some love and teach them and some caring. So if you want me to be worthless, I'll be worthless, but I'm just going to be loving every minute of my life.
I love that.
Isn't that neat? And just
no, go ahead.
Yeah, just the same thing as you know, pure acceptance.
Just accepting yourself, man. That's huge, guys. I appreciate that, because that was something that really hit me a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
Brian, it's really awesome if the last person to do the external to attack the negative thought is the person who has the negative thought.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that would be okay for you to give it one final chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, go for it, Rhonda. I'll be the observer. Do your magic.
Okay, Brian, sorry to tell you this again. You're kind of a fraud. You say you're a dancer, but you've never won a competition. And also, honestly, you kind of suck at dance, really. And that pretty much makes you worthless.
Yeah, that's very, very, very difficult to hear, because I value dance so much, and I work so hard to be the best that I can be dancing, teaching. And it's true, I haven't won a lot of competitions, you know what I mean? I haven't done some things that other people may have done. And that it does feel sad, it does feel difficult to swallow those different pills. I think at the same time, with that, I want to accept that about myself, and I want to be able to say, okay, that's true. And at the same time, I want to be able to say that I can be proud of the work that I've done and what I'm doing right now with my own physical fitness, and what I'm doing with my wife, and what I'm doing with my kids and things like that. And so, there's never going to be a end game to this. What I do have an issue with is listening to this negative voice over and over. If you weren't there, I probably would be on a different page. So that's probably one of the biggest faults that I have. But no, I can't defend that. But what I can say is take respect and honor in who I am and where I'm going, and continue to set goals for myself.
Oh my gosh. Who do you think won that one, Brian? I
think I did.
Did you get to huge?
I feel like I got right on the cusp of huge. It was right there. Right.
Oh my.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have you back another time. But thank you.
Yeah.
It's just, I think we've gotten to know you, learned to love you and admire you.
Thank you.
Already admiring you tremendously, and we really put you through the paces today. And wow,
I love it.
You never cease to amaze. What was this experience like for you? Was there tell us about the part you didn't like and the part you did like, and then we'll say goodbye and leave it in the hands of our listeners.
I mean, man, I love the whole thing, I love you already, David, because I've read all your stuff. Meeting you, bro, is like being a celebrity, man. Like, this is a bucket list thing. I didn't know who Rhonda was, but after meeting you, Rhonda, you're much love for you. I appreciate all the feedback you gave as well. Rhonda is awesome.
Isn't she?
Thank you.
Yeah, you really are. I appreciate how you got in there. Just the little things you say. You have those little things where it just comes in, and it's excellent. So, it was great, guys. I appreciate that you guys are giving this for free, and all this information. Like, so many people need to know it. As far as what I didn't like, not much. Of course, I wish we had 2-3 hours to just sit up and, to talk and stuff. But I loved it. Thank you guys for doing the examples as well. I thought that was really cool. I didn't even know we were going to talk about the cognitive stuff,
I didn't either.
I'm glad that. I'm glad that we touched that. I'm glad
there's
that
two dialogues to change: the inner dialogue and the outer dialogue.
Yes.
And they kind of help each other. Well, the reason I had wanted to get you on the show, or first it was going to be an Ask David, was because you asked, how do you deal with anger in marriage? And because that's maybe the most important topic in the whole world, or close to it.
Yeah.
I thought, man, this would be a great Ask David question. And then when we had the chance to see your evolution and come on the show live, it was just a dream for us. And I just want to thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, guys. Anytime. I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I totally want to thank you too. You showed so much love and commitment to your wife.
Oh,
and then somehow
I bet she's going to be proud of you. Maybe she can write us an email for the show notes, or you can tell us, what she has to say, and I can add it to the show notes.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, send me if you can. I don't know if it's possible to send me a copy of this,
Yeah, the audio, we can send it to you.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
So then you can listen to it right away. You won't have to wait until it's published in 5 or 6 weeks. And then if there's anything you want to add, I can add it to the show notes. Can you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Giving you a virtual hug.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this won't be the last time you hear from me. I'll definitely keep you guys updated and stuff.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a
All
good
right,
day.
guys. Much love, guys.
Much
Yeah.
love
Have a
back.
good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borovsky, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.